Equity and inclusion are vital for the City of Greensboro's ability to grow and innovate in such a fast-changing environment. One Greensboro is a monthly show that highlights some of the ways the Office of Equity and Inclusion honors the observances listed on our Heritage Calendar and spotlights a City of Greensboro employee in a segment we call The One. These observances are an integral part of the National Equal Employment Opportunity and Civil Rights Program and encourage us to live as one people, one community, one Greensboro.
Welcome to this edition of One Greensboro. This month we are celebrating Native American Heritage Month, and we are so thrilled to celebrate all month long, but especially to celebrate here at the Cultural Arts Center. And also our whole entire episode this time is at the Guilford Native American Art Gallery. We are so thrilled to be here. We're going to talk to a few people and learn about the history and the culture to help us become, as always, One Greensboro. And now I'm so happy to be here talking with Wanda Atmore about the work here at the gallery, the Guilford Native Gallery. Wanda, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well today.
Great, great. Tell us a little bit about your work and what your role is here at the gallery.
My role is I'm the gallery director.
Okay.
My job is to make sure that artwork comes in, it gets showcased, also to plan out different activities that we do outside and also in our community. We have classes that we teach to our actual Native students, and then we also go outside of the gallery to educate the community by doing performances, talks, anything that they need or what it is that they're trying to learn about Native Americans.
Oh, that sounds so cool. And I've seen some of those performances, so I love it. So how long have you been here at the gallery?
I have been here at the gallery since, 10. But I have been with the organization since 2003.
Oh my gracious.
Once I graduated college, I went and worked and computer science is what I degree.
Oh, now that's different. I thought you were going to say art. Computer science.
No.
Okay.
And after I was there for a while, the company left. I needed something different to do, and so I ended up coming back to the gallery. It wasn't here at the gallery. I started with the organization, the main organization, and then eventually I filtered over here to Guilford Native Art Gallery. I find a lot of joy with promoting my people's work, teaching about my people, the true history of who we are and not just what they learn in the books.
How do you think this gallery, this beautiful artwork, has impacted the Greensboro community and the surrounding area?
Well, I think it's given them a eye of Native American culture and tradition. I think a lot of times we meet so many people that say, I've never really met a Native American. And they don't know that they have. I think they expect us at all times to walk around in our Native regalias and think that that is what the perceptions of TVs and stories.
Yes.
But I think what we have done, we've established a home for our people to be able to showcase what it is that we're about. We're not just running around or just dancing. We have depth to us with our culture, along with our artwork. And I tell people when they come here to the gallery, you're not always going to see something traditional.
No, you're not. I can see that.
Our people are very adventurous with their work, and so you may get any genre that you could imagine in here. It's done by a Native American, and it may not look like Native work. But I don't think that we should be constrained to just a traditional part, because this is just who we are traditionally already, and I think expanding out in different social ways has been great.
Why is it important then for the gallery, for the people to celebrate Native American month? Not week, it's a whole month. For me, it's all year long, but we have that, specific. Why is that so important?
Well, it's important, as I was saying, for people to understand our culture.
Got it.
This gives us a chance, and it's something that we do all year long, but it gives us a chance to go out into schools, to teach the young children the proper things that is the culture of Native Americans. Absolutely. They read books and they see stories, and I see kids when we go out into schools that they say, I didn't know that Indians were real, that I thought they were just in the books and that they weren't here. And so this gives us that opportunity to showcase everything that is about our culture, our tradition, without any bias, without any lies, without any red lines.
Yes.
This is who we are. This is what we represent, and we want to share that with you so you can have a full understanding of who we are.
What do you have to do to come to visit the gallery? Is there a process? Do you call? Do you just show up?
We are open 6 days a week.
Oh, 6 days.
6 days a week. We're open Tuesday through Sunday.
Okay.
We're here 12 to 5, Monday through Friday, through Saturday, and then 2 to 5 on Sunday. You walk in, no fee. You come in and you enjoy the work, ask the questions, learn. You know, don't go on what I heard. Learn. Ask questions. Try to find out the answers of things that you've heard that you don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And one of those things which you touched upon, and I just want to kind of wind down, what about that word Indian?
Yeah.
That when I hear it, it's just like chalk on a chalkboard. And I try to correct as many people as possible. But that's part of the teaching, I'm sure, like you said, with the students.
It is.
When you go into the schools.
I think it's been a norm at this point.
Yeah.
I think when someone says Indian, they think of a Native American, preferably indigenous, if I was to ask. But I don't correct people because I don't want them to feel like a word defines who we are.
Very good. That's good.
Indian, black, white, whatever the race is, it still doesn't define who you are and what you're trying to share with someone.
Got it.
So I explain to them what it means to be called indigenous versus being called Indian. When I hear say Native Americans, I hear all races say, well, I'm Native American also. So you kind of understand that. So if preferably if I was someone to say, what would you like me to call you?
Right.
Other than just Wanda, which is who I am. My identity is Wanda. Native American is who I am, deep down.
Very good.
But I am an indigenous woman on my indigenous land. But we have adapted to the word, and so it's not anything that I would berate anyone about, but I would definitely educate them of why I chose to be called indigenous versus being called Indian.
Understand. And we just celebrated Indigenous Peoples Day.
Absolutely.
So, Indigenous People Day. So
Absolutely.
I was so excited because that is one of the things we have it on our calendar, and I'm just trying to make sure that we create that awareness to make people know and help people to understand the history, the culture.
Thank you.
And I will say, Wanda, it has been a pleasure talking with you and learning more about the gallery because I have not been in a while.
Well,
I have not been.
Well, I'm so glad you made it today.
Yes, and I want to see some more of the artwork. I know we saw some, but I am so excited. I hope more of the public comes and really gets more in depth in the culture because you've brought me there and I really, truly appreciate it.
Thank you so much for showcasing us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And to continue our journey here in the art gallery, I'm just loving sitting in here and just taking up all the culture and soaking it in. We have a person that I don't know if we've actually met, but I have seen his name around for many, many years, working with him in the community with hiring Native Americans, Mr. Rick Oxendine. Hello, Mr. Oxendine. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good, good. Like I said, you are famous, infamous, everything to me. Because like I said, I don't even know if you know it, but I would do outreach to you, trying to let people know, especially at the city, about jobs and different things. So thank you all for all the work you do here.
Thank you.
So tell us about your role as executive director and how long you've been in that role and a little bit about the organization.
I've been executive director since December 4th of 2000.
Wow.
So next month will be 21 years.
Wow.
And everyone always says, 21 years, nobody is director of a nonprofit for 21 years. They burn out after about 5 or 6 years. But I'm still here, and I oversee all facets of the organization and responsible to the board of directors. And mainly what we do is work with the Native American community to provide assistance with any help that they need, whether it's jobs, whether it's affordable housing, whether it's education for their children, food shortages, whatever. We network with other organizations here, in Greensboro and High Point, and all of the Triad actually, and to try and get the help they need. Most people don't realize it, but we serve the entire Triad community.
That's what I was going to ask. It's not just Greensboro.
No,
you're
it's
located
11 counties.
Wow.
And those 11 counties were designated for us by the federal government. So any federal funding that we receive, we have to serve the entire 11 county Piedmont Triad area. The bulk of our Native people live in Greensboro and High Point.
Okay.
And the next would be Winston-Salem, Forsyth County, Alamance County. The other outlying counties, there may be 200 in that county, but we still work with them. We serve approximately 6,000 Native people that live in those 11 counties. And like I said, half of those are in Guilford County.
Okay.
And this is where the organization was established. We were incorporated as a nonprofit 501c3 in September of 1975. And that came about as a result of Indian parents being concerned about their children, how their performance in the school system. Now, Native people started coming to the Triad not long after World War II.
Yes.
The late 40s, early 50s. And the reason they came here, because Greensboro was the textile center of the universe.
It was.
And they came here because they could get a job.
Absolutely.
Which wouldn't require a college degree or even a high school degree. You could do on-the-job training. And they came looking for a better life for their family, for their children, because most of the rural communities, tribal communities that they came from, there weren't a whole lot of jobs.
Right, right.
And the poor educational system. It was all Indian schools in those tribal communities, and which were sorely underfunded. And so they came here looking for a better life.
Absolutely.
Education for their children, a home, a job, those type of things. And but a lot of them, when they got here, it wasn't the promised land, as a lot of people think. Going to the cities going to be the promised land. And a lot came here too to work in the tobacco industry, R.J. Reynolds and Winston-Salem. And a lot of people went to Baltimore to work in the shipping industries, to Detroit to work in the auto industry during all that time. But so the problem that happened was, you know, back in the 40s and 50s, the community wasn't as diverse as it is now.
No,
it was black and white.
That's right.
You had your black schools, you had your white schools. And so basically the county didn't know what to do with Indian students.
I remember that. And I remember some of my Indian friends, it was a little difficult to fit in.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, during that time.
And they didn't know. So one of the things that the school systems did was, if you were a fair-skinned Indian, you went to the white schools. If you were a darker-skinned Indian, you went to the black schools. For example, if Wanda and I moved here and we were children, I would have gone to the white schools, she would have gone to the black schools. So there were families here who half of their children went to the black schools and half to the white schools.
That is so interesting.
And so there was, it turns out there was an identity crisis with our children. And that's still true today. Unless you look like the stereotypical Indian and you're wearing feathers or beads or something that indicates that, people are like, "You're Indian?" I mean, I got it all the time once I left home, my tribal community. And in 1974, I think it was, we had one student that graduated high school in all of Guilford County, one Native student. And so the parents said, you know, we got to address this issue. And so they got together, and that was the roots of this organization. That's how it came about, to address the educational needs of our children. Then we realized that we need that cultural part, because these kids are, their parents are coming from their tribal communities. These kids aren't growing up with their families and with other Indian children, and so they're missing out on learning, especially from their elders, about their history and their traditions and stuff. So we need to bring some of that here to the urban community for them.
Right.
And so we started 2 years later, after the organization was incorporated, we started a powwow. It was very small in the beginning.
My favorite.
And this year was just incredible. We had record turnout, and The performers, we had performers from up and down the East Coast and from Oklahoma, and our host drum this year was from Oklahoma, and a lot of our dancers came with them.
Wow.
And from Connecticut down to Florida.
It's so beautiful. I've been several
yeah.
times. I love
And so,
it.
and this year it was particularly good. Our powwow, being an urban powwow,
Yes.
is a little different. In the tribal communities, the powwows are probably at least 50% tribal people and 50% from non-tribal. But in an urban center, probably 80% of our visitors are non-native.
Wow.
And
And that's good for our culture
yeah.
and learning and the education you all are
Yes.
trying to do in the community.
And it's great because it's good for us, getting the word out there, educating the public, entertaining the public, and it's good for the city because it brings a lot of people
It does.
into Greensboro to get hotel rooms and spend money and stuff. So it works out great for everybody. So we're grateful to the city again,
Yes.
and to Greensboro Country Park. Their staff is incredible.
Yes,
They're
wonderful
so
out
supportive, and it's a beautiful venue too.
It is.
Really
I've been there several
beautiful
times,
venue.
and I've been to the powwow, and I'm looking forward to next year. Kind of put everything together, because what you have described is what we're trying to do with this show, is to create a series of oneness across all cultures. It doesn't matter African American, Native American, Hispanic American. We want to make sure that we create and showcase cultures. So what can you see, or what do you think from the Native American culture, what needs to be done from the community standpoint to showcase you all more, to do more to help? Is it volunteerism? Is it helping? What can we do more of to make sure people understand from the outside looking in, not you, but us?
Yeah, always, volunteers are always good.
Okay.
Coverage, just like this, of events that are taking place, to let the public know that anything that we sponsor here
Yes.
is for the general public. And
Understand.
so when we bring, we do 4 major exhibits here each year.
Okay, good.
And we try and do 3 from North Carolina and 1 from outside of North Carolina, a national exhibit. And we always bring in the artist, and we have an opening reception, and they speak, and we invite the public to come. Those are well attended.
Good.
And so, and then we do outreach through the gallery. Gosh, over the years, we've partnered with the International Civil Rights Center.
Yes.
We do 2 workshops each year with art students at North Carolina A&T State University.
Wow.
We work with,
yes.
oh yeah?
Yes. I'm an
It's
Aggie,
an awesome
proud Aggie.
school, isn't
Yes,
it?
it is.
And we do, we work with the Multicultural Center at UNC Greensboro. We do a lot with Wake Forest University. And we do stuff with churches as well,
So
and
important.
civic groups. And we bring a lot of students, or classes come in, and Wanda does, our director does workshops with them.
Yes,
I think
talked
she
about
just finished one up a few days ago.
Wow.
And so we do community outreach. We're working on something right now for the future. We were hoping to do it in November, but with the High Point Arts Council.
Okay, great.
But we could not pull it together. We usually get bombarded in November for, you know, Indian
Of course, with
Heritage
everything,
Month.
yes.
Yeah, and so our artists, local and regional artists, book up fast. So we
Right.
couldn't pull anything together for that, but we're going to do something with them after the holidays.
Absolutely.
And we just did a presentation with the Greensboro Children's Museum. And we have something coming up soon with a fundraiser for hunger. In February
excellent.
at the Carolina Theater here in
Okay.
Greensboro. We're going to be part of that. It's a multicultural performance.
Absolutely. I just want to
So-
leave here and just volunteer. So you may see me come back, but I just wanted to say all of this knowledge. First of all, thank you for letting us come today
No,
to
thank you for-
listen to the history, to understand better, you know, and help our audience understand better. And our goal is to showcase not just every year, but partner as much as possible. So you can call on One Greensboro if anything comes up, and we definitely can come and partner, because
Yes.
I loved all of
We'd-
the rich history you just gave just now. So thank you.
Thank you. We'd be happy to
Thank
to
you.
work with you in any way possible.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for being here and letting us be a part of this.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
We had the pleasure of sitting down with Ravendale Stanley. Oh my gracious, there's so much I could say about this young lady. She is so impressive. I left saying, wow, what a future she has. And she is an artist, she is an activist, and she also is an ambassador in her community and beyond. She is also a member of the North Carolina Lumbee tribe. It's just so much I could say. I could go on and on. So now let's just look at her interview so we can find out a little bit more about who she is and what she stands for and where she's headed.
Hello, my name is Henrietta Ravendale Stanley. I am currently a design specialist for the denim company Lee Jeans, focusing on mainly the male teams like men's tops and bottoms. So throughout my life, I've been a Native American performer and traveling all across North Carolina, pretty much teaching and educating those on the history and the culture of my people. And then once I got to UNCG, that was such an amazing opportunity and a platform for me to grow that even further. So my sophomore year at UNCG, I decided to run for Miss India North Carolina, and I served throughout 2018 to 2019, where I got to truly be an ambassador for all of the Indigenous people across North Carolina, which definitely opened up so many amazing doors and networks for me to grow as a Native ambassador even after the crown. And so I've been very involved with the Guilford County Indian Education System and doing volunteer work and conducting workshops with the Native student in the local Triad area. Along with, once I became an employee at the denim brand Lee, they have been so amazing and accepting of my culture and allowing me to create a platform where I can pretty much educate this amazing company that's been around since like the 1800s, who, you know, as you know, in fashion, it gets so wild up with inspiration from Indigenous culture. So I've had the amazing opportunity to educate those on how to appropriately love Indigenous culture and how to go about that, and then also getting to share that and embrace the diversity within the company. So I sort of become my own little campaign. As you know, this week we just kicked off Native American Heritage Month, so the whole country is screaming with every Indigenous person where we get to truly celebrate who we are. And at Lee, I had the amazing opportunity of being put on their social media platforms so that the followers of Lee and our consumers can see just a snippet of how Lee is also, you know, appreciating the Indigenous culture. And me personally, how as a Native woman, I adore myself in Lee because it is one of my favorite brands. And so you can catch me on November 15th, and I'll be in a live interview for Lee on their social media platforms talking about my culture. I actually realized once I got older, I think it's always been there. Like when I was younger, I was in the 4th grade and I had this little composition notebook where me and my friends in class would put together these little outfits and garments. So it was like the love for fashion and clothing was always there. I was always, the way I dressed, I kind of looked different than my peers or my, you know, other friends at the time. So I always loved experimenting and trying new things. But then also growing up in my culture, I've been going to powwows and traveling to different places doing that my entire life. So wearing my traditional regalias and things like that, I've always had some form of regalia, where it's my fancy shawl regalia, my jingle, or my traditional regalia. And once I got older, just learning, the biggest thing I wanted to do was learn how to make regalias. And so one of my greatest mentors, Miss Tabitha Jacobs, who actually resides here in Greensboro, was the one that taught me really how to sew. And so that's what I think sparked my love for clothing. And then also like realizing that's a part of our heritage, because if you think about it, a lot of our Native Americans are seamstresses. I don't even think they recognize that, because we can't just order our clothes off a Shein or go to Walmart and get our regalias. Somebody has to make it. But then also all the things that are thought through when making these regalias. So like me personally, every single one of my dresses that I make for my traditional regalias all tells a story, and it has a meaning. And even down to each comb that I stitch on my dress, that's a prayer from me talking to the Creator and sending me off in a good way, and how I can use this in the best way and the best medicine possible. So once I was a once I was in high school and found out the amazing program that was already here at UNC Greensboro with fashion design, I knew automatically that's where I wanted to go to school and that's what I wanted to do. And it has brought me so much just love for, I've been able to blend my culture and my passion with my education and my career. And my biggest philosophy is, if you love what you do, you never have to work a day in your life. This has always been my favorite time of the year for the fact that it is the one moment where not just Indigenous people, but everyone recognizes Indigenous culture. And for me as a Native person, this is where I truly strive to do all that I can in terms of educating, speaking about it, raising awareness to certain Native issues, or just telling our story in general. Because as you know, unfortunately in our school curriculum and in our education system, it's just taught so flawedly. And then also they tend to stop and leave us in the 1800s. And I normally love to use this month as an opportunity to show people, like, no, we're still here, we're thriving, we live among you, we don't live in teepees, we work with you, and within the same time we have such this rich heritage and culture. And I feel like as a Native person personally, if I'm able to teach those, that's truly my obligation to tell my story. My mother is my greatest inspiration. She is one of my biggest role models. She was actually the first Miss Indian North Carolina, so she certainly led the way and created a path for me and my twin brother in the Native community and even outside to have such a strong sense of cultural identity. I know personally, growing up 3 generations removed from my tribal territory, I often faced so many challenges where I was bombarded with all types of questions out of pure ignorance of Indigenous culture and, you know, all these assumptions, especially looking at me and the color of my skin. And so my mother truly instilled in me and my brother this not only love for our culture, but this sense of cultural identity. And that, especially being in an urban area, it's like we needed to know not only who we are, but our tribal heritage, because we constantly get asked about it or we're constantly having to defend it. So growing up, that really taught me that I'm not going to wait for my seat at the table in any platform. I'm going to create it and I'm going to demand it. When I became Miss Indian North Carolina, my platform was empowered women, empower women. So my entire year was solely about women empowerment and uplifting women, because I was raised by a power woman, and I believe that that's how I became the woman that I am today. And along with that, I learned so many things about these statistics of missing and murdered Indigenous women. And that was one thing that really didn't connect with me, is how, you know, in traditional Indigenous culture, we were a matrilineal society. So how did we come from a matrilineal society where our mothers were leaders, they were decision makers, they were clan mothers, they were held at a very high esteem in our tribal communities, to now they're being murdered? We're barely getting any media attention when our cases do arrive. And then also the federal government does little to nothing to keep up with these statistics on missing and murdered Indigenous women. And when I found that out, and when I learned more about it and about how the federal government truly values Indigenous women, that was an immediate push for me that I had to know more and I had to bring awareness to this. So one of the things I truly enjoy doing is I've been traveling across North Carolina and doing different speaking engagements and pretty much creating a platform to teach others about this contemporary issue and to educate those on just how we can be aware of it and how important it is to bring justice to our Solon sisters that still don't seek the justice that they deserve. I think one of the best things that non-natives can do to help appreciate and respect and honor Native culture is, one, recognizing the history of the land in which they reside on. So just knowing that the Indigenous people, we were this land's first people, and a lot of the things that you appreciate today most likely are because an Indigenous person did it. For example, we were the first environmentalists. I think Native representation is such a big thing and it's growing right now. So, you know, making yourselves aware of that, or taking a moment if you do see something that is Indigenous and ask questions. Now, there are about 3 questions that you cannot ask me. Don't ask me if I live in a teepee. Don't ask me to speak Indian. And don't ask me what percentage of American Indian that I am. But other than that, I think the best thing is if you ask questions, you'll learn more than you ever could. So for me personally, I currently do have an online portfolio. So you can actually go to ravenstanley6.wix, and if you Google that, that should actually take you to my portfolio where it actually lists out a lot of the things that I've done in the past, so my media representation in North Carolina. And then also I do have a section where my artisan and the different things that I do in art, because my biggest philosophy is my craft is how I get to share my story of my people. For Guilford Native, their website, you can actually Google them online and it will take you right there. And then also, if you ever get a chance, come to their art gallery, which we are actually sitting in right now. This is the first fine arts indigenous art gallery in the state of North Carolina, where they showcase so many beautiful indigenous art by Native authors across the tribe and across the nation.